Okay, so this is pretty interesting. I moved to Cyprus about 4 years ago and the real estate market changed so much that you could easily buy a house for 100,000 euros back then. And now you're lucky if you can get a 2-bedroom apartment for the same money. Literally everyone wants to buy properties as an investment, as a holiday home, for permanent residency reasons, or even just to live rent-free here. And all of those are legit reasons to do so. But as we only have a limited supply of properties here in Cyprus and building them takes a while, the demand rises way too fast in relation to the supply, and this leads to inflated numbers and makes the real estate market more and more expensive. But some people just don't care about this as they are very rich. Rich people come here to the island, take a 5-minute view over a 2 million villa, and then they just say, yeah, I buy it. But when you're buying properties in a country like Cyprus, there are some things that you definitely need to be aware of so that you don't regret your decision later on. In fact, there are cases where people found out after buying a property that they don't really own them. So if you're thinking about buying a property, definitely make sure to watch this video until the very end. Hey everybody, it's Rico Go, and in this video I'm going to talk about everything you need to know about the real estate market here in Cyprus. Over the last 4 years I also met some very interesting people, so I can also give you some very interesting insider knowledge that will save you a lot of money. Who doesn't want to save money? As I'm not here to sell you something, I also want to quickly talk about buying versus renting here in Cyprus, and I have an important note here. And that is, maybe you don't even need to buy a property in the first place. Renting is much easier to maintain and manage, especially for travelers. This might be interesting. Also, you have very flexible rental contracts and no liabilities. But of course, there are legit reasons to actually own a property, such as an investment purpose, having a holiday home, living rent-free, permanent residency reasons, as well as retirement and various other reasons that are individual to you. And also, by the way, in this video I'm not talking about commercial properties. This is definitely a topic for another video, so if you would want to have a video about that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So with that said, let's continue with one of the most important factors when looking at the property market here in Cyprus, and that is the prices. How expensive or how cheap are the properties actually here in Cyprus in general? And this obviously depends on the property, like the age, the location, the building quality, other features. Does it have a pool, a sea view? Is it a communal house, detached house, semi-detached, etc. But to not leave you in the dark, and as I know the property market very well, let's talk about some numbers. I recently saw a 1.5 bedroom apartment here in Kato Paphos. Kato Paphos is like the best area here in Paphos because it is next to the harbor and where all the people are, supermarkets, etc. It is a very big living room with kitchen. It was unfurnished and not renovated yet, so it definitely needs some work. However, the price was just 50,000 euros. An actual house in Klorakas, which is a little village right next to Paphos center, let's say 15 minutes, with your own private pool, a little bit of a sea view, furniture already inside, more modern than the 1-bedroom apartment, and pretty cute in my opinion. I really like those houses. Anyway, the property costs around 300,000 euros, actually it was 300k, and the new owner regularly invites me to a barbecue, and I feel very well there. I love the property, the location, the style of the house, and this is what you get for 300k. But let's top that with an even more luxurious house, and that is this seafront villa right here, which is located in a luxury resort with a concierge service, and the price of that villa with all of the furniture and everything inside is about 3 million. It's obviously much more modern, and well, you're right in front of the sea with, you can say, your own private beach, but well, you pay a premium on that, of course. And actually I made a house tour about this exact seafront villa a couple of weeks ago, so if you would want to know how it feels like to live in a very luxurious villa here in Cyprus, watch that video. Very interesting for non-European foreigners is that you can also get a permanent residency here in Cyprus if you buy a property, but the property needs to cost at least 300,000 euros. But this is not a passport yet. This is just the residency by property investment program. But with the permanent residency, you can apply for the citizenship, the passport, after 5 years of actually living here in Cyprus. And yeah, there are also some other requirements, such as a clean criminal record, for example, and some other things, but more on that in another video. In general, more on passports and citizenships with Cyprus in other videos, so definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get back to the topic, and that is the general style of properties here in Cyprus. Usually the properties are very traditional here. I really like the townhouse styles here in Cyprus, but recently they also started with much more modern properties. A lot of glass, for example, and the reason for that is because a lot of foreign money actually flows into Cyprus, and a lot of people want to have luxurious properties, so they build these villas now. And I would argue that you can actually get such a modern property that is already built for about $500,000 to $750,000 with a very good location if you know where to look for the right properties. Especially here in Paphos, in Larnaca, in Ayia Napa and all the villages around those cities, you can get very great deals. In Limassol you will probably just get a very nice apartment for that money, but this does not mean that the investment is bad. It is just very, well, expensive. And the reason for that is the high demand for Limassol properties. In fact, most of the properties that are sold in Cyprus are in Limassol. So under normal circumstances, the prices in Limassol of the properties should actually keep rising because it is like the prime A location of Cyprus with the skyscrapers and a lot of business going on there. And as I said earlier, the prices get very inflated. But very important, I'm not here to tell you that Cyprus properties are such a good investment and they will only keep rising in value, because no one knows. And everyone that tells you that he or she knows, well, they don't, believe me. Listen to your guts, make your own independent research, calculations, and then decide on your own if you want to do it or not. My personal opinion though is that Cyprus as a whole country has a lot of potential to grow because of the very interesting geopolitical location, as well as a very interesting tax scheme, and also because of the lifestyle climate here in Cyprus, and people just feel very good here, just as me living here for 4 years now. This logically attracts more and more entrepreneurs, investors and other people moving to Cyprus, and thus the demand of the properties increase even more. But as with everything, there is always a little bit of risk involved. There could always be a black swan event, especially because of the political situation here in Cyprus. I would like to talk about the real estate market in the north side of Cyprus, however, I don't have enough experience to do that, and I would rather do a little bit of research before talk to some very experienced people there, and then I can make a video about it. So if you want me to do that, leave a comment down below. I'm very curious on that. Now let's talk about hidden costs when buying a property here in Cyprus, and I divided it into hidden costs when buying a property and the actual buying process, and also hidden costs when you bought the property and when you're maintaining it with like ongoing fees. Number one, hidden costs at the actual buying process is very common. I know it is the agent fee, but here in Cyprus it is actually a very high fee. In fact, it is common that the agent fee is up to 2 digits here in Cyprus. The agent fee is usually paid by the seller, but I still want to mention it so that you know what will come when you're buying a property. Number two hidden cost is the actual transfer fee when buying the property, and this is paid by the buyer of the property, so in this case probably you. And this fee varies between 3 to 8% of the value of the property. It can be lowered and you can even be exempt of the transfer fee, so definitely make sure to talk to an expert before you buy the property. Number 3 is the VAT, the value added tax, the only tax you have to pay when you're buying a property. Standard rate is 19%, but it also can be lowered down to 5% depending on some criteria, such as if this is your first property in Cyprus or not, is it your main property or not, and how big the property is. Number 4 is the stamp duty. This is a very small fee, 0.2% of the purchase value of the property, and for normal properties this is actually not even worth mentioning. Those were all the hidden costs when actually buying the property, and now we are talking about the ongoing costs when you bought the property and when you want to maintain it and basically just manage it. There used to be an immovable property tax that you needed to pay annually based on the value of your property, but this was abolished a couple of years ago. So is the Cyprus property really cost-free? Not really. Number 1 is the so-called local authority fee. This is, for example, for streetlights, garbage collection, and this is paid annually based on the property size and also where your property is. It ranges from 100 euros per year up until 600-700 euros per year. Number 2 is the municipality taxes, that is 1 to 2% of the market value of your property that is paid annually to your local municipality. Number 3 is the sewerage tax, so basically for the sewage pipes, and this is 0.5% to 3% based on the market value of your property paid annually to the government as well. Now, in some cases, you also need to pay a community tax or fee actually, and that is paid to the community because a lot of properties here in Cyprus are in communities and you're sharing a communal pool, for example. You also have gardeners and security. The communal fee is for all of those services that also your neighbors need to pay because you're all living in one little community very close by, sharing various different services and products, and thus you also need to pay for that annually or quarterly or monthly, depending on the community. Now lastly, very obvious, also you need to pay for water and electricity. So this is what I mean, that actually living rent or cost free here in Cyprus is, well, maybe not 100% the case. And yes, of course, I know this is probably in every country like that. Unless you're living off-grid somewhere in the mountains, hunting for your own food, you always need to pay for something. But now you know how it works here in Cyprus. Isn't that awesome? I hope this video isn't too long, but real estate is a very complex topic and I want you to know the most important general information with just watching this one video. Let me know down in the comments if you like those longer videos with a lot of value, and if this is the case, definitely also leave a like. Thank you very much, I really appreciate it. Now let's talk about the common mistakes that a lot of people do when buying a property here in Cyprus and that I see more and more often. The first common mistake I see so many people do when they try to buy a property here in Cyprus is that they don't do enough research. Some people come here to Cyprus and they want to buy a property as fast as possible, but in my opinion it makes most sense to just look at the market for some time first, and during that time you can rent another apartment and you can look for the perfect property. Don't buy a property too fast here in Cyprus just because you're not patient enough. Take an Airbnb for some time and then just look at all the cities, look at what type of property you want, and then you can make a very rational decision on the perfect property for you. Next is the question whether someone should use an agent, if someone should look at the marketplace himself and spend a lot of time, or if you should work with an independent consultant that will basically look the marketplace for you and you're not paying him an agent fee, but you're paying him for his time. Agents and agencies are definitely a valid reason and you can try them out. However, be aware that some agents are not really officially licensed agents. What some of them are doing is they just look at the marketplace themselves and then they try to sell you a property and add a premium on top of the actual agent fee and put it into their pockets. So what I actually prefer a little bit more is to look at the marketplace yourself. The two most common marketplaces for that here in Cyprus are the Facebook Marketplace as well as the Bazaraki Marketplace. But it will definitely take a little bit of time. You need to do some viewings in order to find the perfect property for you. So the third actually also very smart, and that is to just hire someone that is locally very experienced here with the real estate market, and he will do this exact research for you. And as he's a local, he can even negotiate the prices for you, and you're not paying him an agent fee as I said, but you're just paying him for his time, a fixed sum or whatever he wants to be charged for. So to me personally, I really like to work with independent consultants, not just in the real estate market, but in general, and also for other financial products, because I can be sure that this person is non-biased. He's not trying to sell me something that he will get commission for, but actually I'm paying him for his time and advice. If you want to get help with finding the right consultant, you can also reach out to me or ask questions either in the comment section or in the video description. Common mistake number 3 is the title deeds, and now please listen very carefully because the title deeds are the biggest point of failure so many people do when buying a property, and I see this unfortunately more and more often. Only with the official title deeds you actually officially own the property, and there are some properties on the marketplace that are for sale, but please never buy such a property because the official owner with the title deeds could claim the property anytime, even though you paid money and you're living in it now. If you don't have the title deeds, you don't own the property. Common mistake number 4 are banks in Cyprus if you would want to buy the property with leverage. And that is actually in Cyprus, the interest rates are above average. They are pretty high. And also the requirements in order to get a mortgage is very hard because you need to show a very strong and long history of income. But as a non-dom entrepreneur with your own company here in Cyprus like me, you usually don't pay out a high salary because you're playing with your dividends. However, if you would want to get a loan from the bank to buy a property, first of all, you need to pay a very high deposit, so your own cash money. And then second of all, you need to start paying yourself a salary for 6, 12, even 24 months and then show them proof of your salary, and just then you can apply for a mortgage from the banks here in Cyprus. Now I will talk about the actual process, step by step, if you would want to buy an apartment, a flat, a house here in Cyprus. And for European people with an European passport, the process is divided into 5 steps. Number 1 is the due diligence that you do, 1 for the physical actual property, but 2 also for the paperwork and the papers of the property, so that you can be sure that the title deeds, for example, are official and that everything is correct in the contracts. Also here it makes sense to never do it completely on your own. Have someone independent looking over everything and then give you the legal go, and also probably some parts are in Greek, and if you don't speak Greek you need someone local anyway. Number 2 is the reservation, and because the property market is very dynamic here, so a property that is on the market today might be sold tomorrow, you need to reserve the property to be sure that you can actually buy it. Number 3 is the contract, so the sale purchase agreement, and here you need your passport as well as the proof of funds and some other little documents that you probably have. And you first set up a draft, then you again let your consultant look over it, and once both parties agree on the contract, you then go to the stamp duty with a little fee that I talked about earlier. At the stamp duty, the contract gets a stamp, logically, so it's official, and here you usually pay the first installment of buying the property, so the first money gets transferred here. Number 4 is the land registry office, and that is basically the big boss here in Cyprus when it comes to, well, land and properties. And here I actually recommend to register the contract as soon as it has the stamp on it, so that you can be completely sure as a buyer that you're secure here and that you then somewhat officially already own the property before actually getting the title deeds, so that when you, for example, want to sell the property for whatever reason, if you're doing a fix and flip, for example, so you buy the property, you renovate it and you sell it for a profit, then once the contract is already registered at the land registry office, you can already sell it without having the title deeds, because number 5, the transfer of title deeds can take a little while. In fact, the longest we waited so far is 1.5 years, so definitely be aware that it can take at least some months. And here at the transfer of title deeds, you usually pay all of the money, and once you then have your title deeds, you're officially the owner of your new property. Woo! Congratulations! As a non-European person, it's a little bit different, but definitely still possible, and that is within the 5 steps of buying the property, you add one more step, and that is a so-called application. Because as a foreign investor from elsewhere, you need to apply in order to buy a property or land right here at the land registry office, again at the LRO, and they will then give you permission to buy the property. As a citizen of Cyprus, you don't need to apply for buying the property, you can basically just go and transfer the title deeds and you're the new owner. In any way, if you are serious about buying a property here in Cyprus, definitely check out the video description to see how I can maybe help you with that. And remember to watch the 3 million villa tour that I recorded, and I truly appreciate every single one of you that subscribed to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.